So grab your seat, no need to go far. It's the real story from Alex Zahara.
Last week with Douglas Vermeer, and he brought up something I never thought about. The actors are storytellers too. It's not just the writer. The actor is telling a story.
Absolutely.
And that kind of stuck with me a little bit. Like, you are out there creating a world as well as the writer and the director and everybody involved. You're telling a story and people connect to that. And I think that's what builds community, which builds goodwill, which unites people and gives them positivity in their lives. So 100%, I get fandom. I mean, football fans do the same thing. They get together as a community and they celebrate the good things and they want the teamwork.
All the tailgate parties.
It doesn't seem as cheesy when it's that instead of Stargate. You know, it's they're wearing the uniforms again. Like, yes, but you know, as a storyteller, go ahead.
Sorry, no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I read a interview of yours where you said your favorite author is Richard Bach, and I have a unique question about that. Have you ever flown an airplane?
Yes, I have. A little Cessna. I took one of those go for a flying lesson, first flying lesson thing. An ex of mine bought me this lesson. So I flew a Cessna like 182 or whatever it was in and around the Squamish Whistler area up where they have the Olympics, decade more ago. And I literally got to fly the plane. You know what I mean? And even he let me bring it down and right towards landing. And we were like, I'm like, dude, you should take this. He goes, no, you're still good. I'm like, no, you should take this. Like, like we're gonna land, and I got like, I don't know, a few hundred feet off the ground, not even 200 feet. And he goes, okay, I'll take it now. I was like, wow. I said, no, you did. See, I wanted to be a pilot as a kid, but I've got red-green color blindness a little bit, and so I would never have passed the test. I guess they have like lenses now that can help you or whatever, but you don't want me flying your plane and not knowing which way right or left is because of the color. So I was really interested in planes, books, and then I fell into reading this book, Illusions, the Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah, and it's Richard Bach, and it's about a guy who's flying a plane and going barnstorming and giving rides, and he meets another guy who does the same thing, but the other guy never has to clean his windshield. There's no bugs. He never has to gas up, and it's like he meets a messiah of sorts. Anyway, it's very fascinating. If you ever get a chance to read the book, check it out, and all his books are amazing.
And I think Zaz pointed out something interesting about the Richard Bach, and you guys. I wanted to jump in with it if he still remembers where we were going before you got on. Do you remember?
I think it was. Go ahead, Zaz.
No, Josh. No, I'd prefer you to go.
I thought it was. So you were in the movie Horns, which was credited as written to Joe Hill. Which is Stephen King's son's pen name, I believe.
Exactly.
And your favorite author is Richard Bach, and Richard Bach Min is Stephen King's pen name.
By the way,
odd coincidence. Odd coincidence.
It's amazing. Wow. And let's just not gloss over that, because Horns is like one of my top 5 movies, and because the soundtrack's there, it's a dark comedy. I wouldn't even put it because I mean so emotionally there. And you're the doctor, right? Like you, you just. I don't want to spoil too many of the jokes because part of it is, and again, I can't stress enough, if you haven't seen this movie, go see it immediately. Like, just stop watching this now because it's such a unique movie. It's insane how unique this movie is. And again, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but Daniel Radcliffe plays somebody who goes through a tragedy with his girlfriend he's madly in love with. You feel the chemistry with her. Like, you feel it. Yeah. Amazing soundtrack, and he gets these horns that make people tell the truth. That's all in the trailer. Now your scene is just priceless. So
the director says that's his favorite scene in the movie, and I'm not. He said that to me several times, Alexandre Aja. But the thing about that is the horns release the things. Like the horns for me, I took it like they release your inhibitions. They release
100%.
Any social norms you may have just float away. And what's a little weird and disturbing is what happens later in the film. He comes to me looking to get his horns removed, and I end up we end up trying to remove them, and then as we gas him and start sawing off the horns, he goes into like a 20-minute flashback. When he comes back, the nurse and I are making out, making love on my chair and whatever. But what's really awkward in this thing about movies, she was a friend of mine.
Oh,
beautiful.
no.
That makes
It's
it
very awkward, very awkward. So, but everybody always asks, "Or sex scenes? Are they?" There's nothing sexy about it. No, not for this guy. You know, at least I was like, yeah, okay. I had a glove on, and I'm like, okay, great. Yes, massaging. I'm doing that. Shut up. You know.
I don't want to mean this.
Yeah,
you guys are at the catering table afterwards, like not making eye contact. Like, yeah. Anyway,
totally.
I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah, it's so awkward because I mean, come on, when you get physical intimacy like that, you have to have a bond for that sort of thing to happen. And when suddenly you show up and like, I mean, in a way, I'm glad it was Kendra, a friend of mine, Kendra, but I'm kind of glad that it was because it had been a complete stranger. That might have just been like completely like, wow, I don't know if I can do this, you know, like I don't know. But real quick, segue. I've also worked for Stephen King. When I did Kingdom Hospital, and he wrote that miniseries, and I played Saul, this cop, and you know it was partially based on him, that one of the characters, and because he was hit by a van jogging in his like local rural area, almost died, and you know this is based partially on his experience and whatnot. Anyhow, he bought the van that almost killed him, and it's sat on his front lawn. Yeah, for the last 30, 40 years. But weirdly enough, I worked for him, meet him, and then I worked for his son years later. And it's just weird. Like, talk about a bookending of things. And then weirdness, I was in my cousin came to town, and he's a real gamer guy, like plays Warhammer and all this stuff. And nothing against it. I just don't know it very well. And I dropped him off at this big mall to go check stuff out. And then I came to pick him up, and he wasn't quite ready. So I'm wandering around, and there's Joe Hill. I go, hey, Joe. And he didn't recognize me at first. He goes, it's Alex. Holy crap, man. And so it was the first time ever that someone had took a selfie of me and put me on Facebook.
Nice.
So there you go. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, we do want to get into, how far are we into this? We're 45 minutes in, and we still have to talk about why you're here. We're here to talk about one of the biggest movies, I would say Horns, is because I'm like Zaz there. It's one of my favorite movies. But
I have to say,
Final Destination after 13 years. Oh, go ahead.
Daniel
Radcliffe story.
Daniel Radcliffe, super amazing guy, awesome, no ego, one of the best actors I've ever worked in my life, best people I've ever met. In the first 2 minutes, he goes, I used to get it a lot. He goes, has anyone ever told you how much you look like Kenneth Branagh? And I'm like, yeah, you're the first today, or whatever. I used to get it all the time. He actually took my stuff and he sent my stuff to Kenneth Branagh because we looked so much alike in his mind that he said, you guys could play brothers in a movie. I'm like, well, there you go. So Daniel, awesome guy, awesome dude. I
saw shortly before After Horns, I saw Swiss Army Man, and I knew that he was the kind of guy that I would want to follow. Every decision he's been making he could do anything, and he chose to do Swiss Army Man. That's a good guy to me right there. Just that decision, you can read a lot into a person by a decision like that. And then
he's not an
Horns,
egotist,
he wanted to do
because it was a good movie. Oh, completely.
That's amazing.
I love
it. To hear. We want to talk about Final Destination, Bloodlines.
Right.
How did you get involved? Let's start there. You got questions about Final Destination, Bloodlines, get them in. Let's try not to make them spoiler. We will get them on screen if they're not too spoilery. How did you get involved?
Well, okay, like anything, auditions come out, the breakdowns come out, and the character description, and audition, great, cool. Now I don't know at that point whether Adam or Zach asked for me to audition or not. I don't think so. I think I just auditioned, but they really like my work. I've known Zach more for years. We don't buddies and hang out, but I knew him like socially. Just he dated a friend of mine, anyway. 20 years ago, he was in my apartment for like an evening, right? So that was it. And then he did On the Lot, etc. Hadn't seen much of him, but knew his work. And we were supposed to work together on Mech X4 or something. Not another film. Forgive me. It was another film. I can't remember. But anyway, Patton Oswalt played the character originally, and then he ended up playing it in the movie. They were going to hire me, and then instead they went with him again. And it doesn't matter. But Zach said, you're a really great actor, Alex. I think, and he stayed in my mind, and I stayed in his mind. When this came up, I auditioned. I got a call back, and they said, "It was great. Do me a favor, can you play?" Because they weren't in session. There's nobody there. It's not live. So, and we didn't do a Zoom session. So they said, "Tape it again and show us very different takes of the character." I thought, okay, well, I know that not a lot of people have a lot of time, so okay, fine. But I'm going to show them multiple takes of the same scene, completely different. So I did 6 takes of the scene where my sister and I discuss our lives, where she's headed, where I'm headed, the family. So I gave him 6 very, very, very different versions, and all the producers and all the directors watched it all, and they loved it. And they were like, wow, this guy can act. So great. Okay. They booked me, and then the strike happened. So we were supposed to film, and then the strike happened. It was delayed. And a lot of times when that stuff happens, like films go away, parts go away, they go overseas, or they just disappear. Nope. End of the strike. I got the call. Like, you're still in it. Whoa, are you kidding me? Actually, I got a call that I was shortlisted. I didn't think I got it. I was shortlisted, and then the strike happened. I'm like, oh no, come on. But then I got a call like after the strike that, yep, you booked it, and we're gonna film. So, and they followed through. And they are such good guys. They actually threw me a bone, as it were, and cast me as a doctor in their new feature they're doing called Freaks Underground, a sequel to Freaks they did in 2018, which kind of put them on the map.
Wait.
And they play a surgeon.
Freaks is getting
so. Sorry?
Freaks is getting a sequel.
Yep. It's got a sequel. They shot it. They're in editing right now. They were editing when we were in LA for the Final Destination premiere.
So on the Final Destination, I know Zaz wants to talk about a certain actor that was on the show, but I just, what are some of your bigger memories of this? I mean, it's a big production. What did you watch? What did it fill you with? What did you get out of it besides, obviously the being in a giant movie like this?
Yeah, well, you know what? To be quite frank, it didn't feel like a giant movie for me. It felt like a family film, honestly. And because for my character, like that's the thing, Adam, we did 3-4 days of rehearsal too for the characters, for the family scenes and all the stuff going on. And we would improv stuff. They'd say, okay, great. Now throw the script away, just improv, do whatever. And they would go away, for lunch or the break, and they'd come back with new pages for us and stuff that they mesh together from an improv and from rehearsal and even from just the regular lines, because the Guy and Laurie, the writers, are tremendous, like seriously tremendous. Look at the goosebumps.
That's really
seriously
cool.
That's my meter. When I get goosebumps, I know it's the truth. But they're so creative, so smart, and we did this rehearsal process, but it was all about family. So it didn't feel like a big blockbuster film to me, because my scenes were all about my family. And they said that I'm always trying to keep the family together, build good memories, because myself and my sister Darlene didn't have great childhood growing up because mom was a bit kooky, didn't let us live and didn't let us thrive. So that was the whole thing. Like my guy was about making fun. Well, look at my backyard. My wife, our backyard. We've got trampoline. We've got tossing beanbag game and whatever the name of that game is, and then giant Jenga and a bar.
Which is not a good name for a game.
I know it's not a good name for a game. I always call it bean toss or bag toss. That's what we call it.
Thank you.
Bag toss. So or whatever. And then he's got a big barbecue, but it's meant to have a conducive family experience. There's a little swing to sit on. That's the whole thing. His whole thing is he's recovering the family that he never had as a kid, basically. And in one of the earlier versions of the script, they actually had my character, owning like the house. And it was a big like Chuck E. Cheese type thing, maybe fun house for kids with games and food and entertainment. But then they scaled it back just because production wise and whatnot, it was too much to do. And I'm actually glad they'd scaled it back because it made it far more personal, right?
That's what I was going to say. I'm glad it wasn't too big. It was a very believable. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was just amazing. Everybody's incredible in it. Like I hate to say it, sounds cliche these days to say that, but no, I'm serious. We all worked our asses off. Crew, cast, you wouldn't believe the behind the scenes stuff. And Christian, the DOP, and the entire lighting crew, and everybody, what tremendous stuff, because they made it look like a hot summer day when I die. Well, I mean, I'm not giving anything away because it's in the trailer. It's why you're going to see the movie. But anyhow, it was foggy, rainy, wet. We couldn't shoot for the first I don't know how long in the day because there was fog. So they lit it and made it look as if it was glorious summer, and it was the winter of our discontent for you Shakespeare fans. Like it was April and it felt like November. Yeah. So it was movie magic, seriously.
Movie magic. That's something that like I hope that makes the do they still do director commentary on anything or like
Yeah, I heard the video rental at home is going to come out, I think June 17th or something, June or July 17th. I can't remember. It's either June or July 17th, and apparently when you rent it, you will get a behind the scenes portion of it.
Great.
With the directors.
I missed. That's the one thing I loved about Blu-ray, DVD. Those features where you can actually watch it with the cast and crew. Like Goonies is a childhood favorite movie, but watching Goonies with them talking about it is probably a better experience. Like those sort of things, it so well, and then you watch it and you like hear the inner story of Sean Astin going, no, that's not really what it was like there.
Yeah.
And then there's always the other, that's where you get the real info. But have a great one. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Be safe out there. Treat each other well.